Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm Chio. So, today I want to talk about a question that has probably annoyed you at least once in your life. Maybe you were a kid arguing with your cousin at dinner. Maybe you saw it as a dumb meme online. The question is simple: which came first, the chicken or the egg? And look, I know what you're thinking. This sounds like a joke question, like something you ask just to mess with someone's head. But stick with me here, because this question actually broke some of the smartest minds in history. Philosophers argued about it, scientists argued about it, and for the longest time, nobody had a real answer. Just vibes and shrugging. So let's actually go through this properly, because there is an answer now, a real one. And once you hear it, it's kind of one of those things where you go, oh, that's actually obvious. Why didn't I think of that? Okay, so first, let's go back in time a bit. This question isn't new, it's not some TikTok trend from last year. Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, literally wrote about this over 2,000 years ago. He looked at it and basically said, look, every bird comes from an egg, and every egg comes from a bird. So there's no starting point, it's just an endless loop going backwards forever. He actually concluded that both the bird and the egg must have just always existed together, since he didn't believe there was a first version of anything, which, fair enough for a guy living in 350 BC with no concept of evolution. But obviously, that doesn't really satisfy us today, right? Because we know things evolve, we know species change over time, so the real question becomes way more interesting once you add evolution into the mix. It's not really chicken or egg anymore. It's actually a genetics question in disguise. And actually, before we even get to genetics, there's a really annoying technicality that I have to mention because someone in the comments is going to bring it up anyway. Eggs in general have existed for way, way longer than chickens have, like hundreds of millions of years longer. Dinosaurs laid eggs, ancient reptiles laid eggs, even some fish and amphibians laid eggs long before anything resembling a bird ever existed. So if you're asking, did the egg exist before the chicken? The answer is obviously yes, by a laughably huge margin. Chickens are actually a pretty recent species when you zoom out on the timeline of life on Earth. So the real version of this question isn't really egg versus chicken in general. It's specifically, did the first chicken egg exist before the first chicken? That's the actual puzzle. And that's where it gets interesting because now we're not talking about eggs as a broad concept. We're talking about one very specific species and its very specific starting point. Here's where it gets good. Let's think about what a chicken actually is. A chicken, biologically speaking, is a specific species. It didn't just appear out of nowhere one random Tuesday. It evolved slowly from an earlier bird species that was almost, but not exactly, a chicken. Think of it like a slightly different, older cousin species. Let's just call it the proto-chicken for now. So somewhere in the past, there was a population of these proto-chicken birds. They were laying eggs, living their bird lives, doing bird things. And at some point, one of these proto-chicken parents had a genetic mutation in their DNA. Just a random copying error, the kind that happens in reproduction all the time. This mutation ended up being significant enough that the baby that hatched from that particular egg was technically, genetically, the very first true chicken. Now here's the part that messes with your brain a little. That mutation happened inside the egg, not inside the chicken. The parents were proto-chickens. Not quite chickens yet, but the egg they produced contained the first true chicken. Which means, genetically speaking, the egg came first. The egg held the first chicken before the chicken itself ever took a single breath. Kind of wild when you think about it that way, right? The answer isn't some clever wordplay trick. It's actual biology. Mutations don't happen gradually to a living adult animal. They happen once at the moment of conception inside that egg. So any new species, technically, starts as an egg containing a genetic difference from its parents. And this isn't some random idea I'm making up either. This is literally just how evolution works according to Charles Darwin's whole theory, which is that new species don't appear instantly out of nowhere. They form gradually, generation by generation, through tiny genetic differences that build up over time. A new species doesn't get switched on in an adult animal walking around. It gets switched on the moment a new combination of DNA comes together, which is, again, inside an egg or inside a womb, depending on the animal. For chickens specifically, that means inside an egg. So picture this proto chicken hen, just living her normal bird life, no idea she's about to become historically significant. She lays an egg like she has 1,000 times before. Nothing seems different from the outside. But inside that one egg, a tiny mutation occurred during fertilization, different enough from her and her mate that what hatches out is, genetically, something new. A true chicken. She never became a chicken herself, she just happened to lay the first one. Okay, but I know some of you are thinking, hold on, isn't this both circular and unclear? Because it depends how loosely you define chicken egg versus egg laid by a chicken. And yeah, that's actually a fair point. That's exactly why in 2010 this stopped being just a philosophy debate and actually became a real scientific study. Two researchers, Dr. Colin Freeman from the University of Sheffield and Dr. John Brookfield from the University of Nottingham, actually studied the eggshell formation process in chickens. And what they found was honestly kind of amazing. Chicken eggshells are made using a specific protein called ovoclidin 17, or OC17 for short. This protein is only produced inside a chicken's ovaries. It acts like a catalyst that helps the eggshell form quickly and properly around the egg. So think about what that actually means. If a chicken egg needs a protein that only a chicken's body can produce in order for the shell to even exist properly, then the egg physically cannot form without a chicken already being there to make it. The research basically confirmed that, structurally speaking, you need an actual chicken to produce a proper chicken egg in the first place. So now we've got two answers that seem like they're fighting each other. The genetics answer says the egg came first because that's where the mutation happened. The eggshell formation study says the chicken has to come first because only a chicken's body can build the shell. Confusing, right? But actually, both of these are true at the same time once you separate the timelines properly. Genetically, the first true chicken hatched from an egg laid by a bird that was almost, but not fully, a chicken. So, in an evolutionary sense, the egg came first because it's the vessel where the genetic change actually took place. But if we're being super specific about what a chicken egg is, meaning an egg with that particular OC17 protein shell, then technically the egg needs the chicken to already exist to build that exact kind of shell. So, in a mechanical, biological sense, the chicken came first because her body is what forms the specific eggshell we call a chicken egg. So, really, the honest answer is it depends on which question you're actually asking. Are you asking where the species itself began? Then the egg wins because that's where genetic history quietly flipped over into something new. Are you asking where the eggshell structure came from? Then the chicken wins because only her body could physically make it. And honestly, I think that's what makes this question so satisfying once you actually dig into it. It's not a stupid, unanswerable riddle. It's a perfect example of how nature doesn't really do clean, sudden jumps. There's no single moment where a switch flips and suddenly a completely new animal appears out of nowhere. It's all gradual, blurry, overlapping. The parent and the offspring are almost the same, generation after generation, until one day, looking back over thousands of years, the difference becomes undeniable. And honestly, that's kind of how change works in your own life too, if you think about it. You don't wake up one day a completely different person. There's no single morning where you suddenly become the new you. It happens in these tiny, almost invisible shifts. A habit here, a decision there, a slightly different choice than the one your parents would have made. And then one day you look back and you realize you've become something your past self wouldn't even fully recognize. Just like that proto chicken parent never knew it had just made history by laying one very ordinary looking egg. Honestly, this whole debate blows up online every couple of years too. You'll see it on Reddit, you'll see it on Twitter, people arguing back and forth like it's some unsolvable mystery, when really, scientists have had a pretty solid answer for over a decade now. It's just that, well, actually, it depends on your definition, doesn't really work as a punchy comeback at a party. So the myth that nobody knows just kind of sticks around. So next time somebody brings up the chicken or the egg thing to be funny at a party, you can actually just drop this on them. Tell them it's the egg, because that's where the mutation happened. But also tell them it's the chicken, because her body built the shell. And watch their brain short circuit a little bit, because now they have two right answers instead of zero. Anyway, guys, that's the story for today. Hope you found that at least a little bit interesting, or at least now you have a way better answer than, I don't know, next time someone asks you this at a party. I'm Chio. See you in the next video.